Alright guys, so as you can see we are here for AOR Belgium highlights here for round number 12 of season 14 in AOR on the PS4 side, and we are in qualifying right now. My first run put me in P5, and Belgium's a track which I've always really liked, and in season 12 in the Reserves League and season 13 in F2 I've never really had the results around here, but I feel in today's race I can really prove myself around here, and I felt well prepared, felt like the setup was good. It is actually expected to rain midway through the race. It's going to be a dry start, but then it's going to go to full wet conditions and then back to drier weather towards the end, but that didn't really affect my confidence levels because I felt like I was well prepared in both conditions, and I haven't altered the setup of the car at all for qualifying. I've just kept it the same as my dry setup, and then seeing as it's a dry start I was going to change the wing levels when I pitted onto intermediates for the first time. But so far in this lap it's been really good. I've fueled for 2 laps in case this one doesn't go to plan, and also before this race I've now got a wired connection, so hopefully that will reduce lag, but I don't think really the lag I've had in previous races was caused by my connection. I think it was just the way the game is and the multiplayer being pretty shit. But the aim for today was to get on the podium and try and challenge for a win if possible. I felt like my pace was good enough, and it was whether I could execute qualifying and strategy well and everything. But you can see we're 2 tenths up on our previous time. We're purple at the moment. I think it was Aresi on pole at this stage, I might be wrong, but we definitely need to improve from P5, and I think we're on course to do that at the moment. And if the lap's good enough I won't go for a second run because we want to have fresher tyres for the start of the race so that we can extend them to when it rains. But see, open DRS now, and towards the line we do a 42.8, which is a really good time, going on provisional pole, but Aresi beat it with a 42.6. Felt like I could have gone a bit quicker if I had lower fuel, but P2 I'll take it. That's my second best qualifying of the year. But getting into the race now, can we get a good launch? 500 lights, and away we go. And the start has been really good. I think that's one of my best starts of the season in terms of the launch. Much better than Hungary. I definitely practiced that because I knew my starts were just shit, but we're slotting in behind Aresi, getting into the slipstream, and hopefully we can slipstream past him down the Kemmel straight. But you can see I've just backed out a bit there because he was lagging, and I also didn't want to go for a move in Eau Rouge because that would inevitably end up in a crash. But you can see going past him now, pulling out the slipstream. Simo's coming up as well, so we're going to cover him off, go as close as possible to Aresi so he doesn't go down the middle, and we're going to brake really late, and we're going right around the outside of Aresi, and that's us into P1. And that was just how I wanted it. That was the plan. I executed the plan really well there, and I'm super chuffed with that. But now we've just got to focus and make sure we don't make any stupid errors and try and get away from the cars behind. I don't think Aresi had amazing race pace because I did do a bit of practice with him, but you can see changing the downforce up to 2 now on the front wing for when it rains, and they'll change that in the pits, and staying in rich fuel mixture for the time being. But yeah, that was an amazing start. I'm super happy. But you can see getting massive oversteer there, and that was really weird when I was driving because I've got a bit of an issue with my wheel right now. I mentioned it in one of my previous videos where it's heavier on the left than it is on the right, and through that corner it went super light on the right, and it felt as if the force feedback had almost turned off completely, and I just lost the rear, but it felt fine in the remaining corners. So yeah, that was a bit weird. But Aresi's going around the outside now of us into the bus stop chicane. We're going to brake later than him once again. Definitely got a lot of confidence on the brakes, just in general really. It wasn't really to do with the setup, I just feel really confident on the brakes with the pedals I have and everything like that. But crossing the line in the lead and locking up into turn 1, which yeah, I was driving like a bit of an idiot through turn 1 there because I was pushing a bit too hard, because I knew I had to try and get away from the cars behind because they're going to slipstream past me down the straight if I don't get a big enough gap. But obviously no DRS at the moment. I think Aresi's our main threat down here, so pulling to the right hand side of the circuit. Aresi's in the slipstream of us. He's going to go towards the outside line, heading into turn number 5 I believe, and we brake once again a lot later than him, and we hold on to the lead for the time being. So hopefully, I was thinking in my head at this stage, just got to hit every apex now on this lap and try and build up the gap before the DRS is enabled. I knew I wouldn't be able to get it to over a second in a lap, but Hopefully we can extend it to around 7/10, something around there, and then he won't be able to get anywhere near us down the Kemmel Straight, obviously with the slipstream not being that powerful in this game. But 7th gear through pull on there, lovely corner. I love that when you get it right, but then when you get it wrong it's absolutely horrible. But yeah, it was really good position to be in. Obviously in the lead quite a few times. I've ended up quite low down due to my qualifying not being great, but I think in the last 3 races I've really stepped up my qualifying, so yeah, hopefully I can maintain that in the remainder of the season. I think Ali K, the championship leader, is in 5th at the moment. Synthetic, who's 2nd, he's in around 10th at this stage. Simo, I think, is 3rd, and he's in P3 in this race as well. And to be honest, I think Simo is going to be in contention for the championship. He's really consistent. He's always there, and I felt like he was my main threat in this race, not Alessi, because Simo always seems to find pace towards the end of the race. And crossing the line there, you can see rain's starting to fall now, but we set the fastest lap of the race, and DRS is now enabled obviously, but you can see later on into lap 3 the rain is really coming down now, and I was hoping Jeff would go on the radio and say it's time to switch to alternate strategy. You can see he's said that at pretty much the perfect time, so I'm not going to continue for another lap. I'm going to pit this lap, go onto the intermediate tyres, power sliding there through the bus stop chicane. That wasn't intentional at all, but going to the pits now, not taking any risks. And yeah, we extended the gap to Alessi to about 8/10 on that lap, which shows that we've got good pace, and hopefully we won't get held up in the pits here, as lots of people are going to be pitting, and that is pretty much perfect. We had a really good pit stop, and you can see Ali K has been held up behind his teammate in the pits, so he's going to lose a heap of time from that. And we now have a pretty big gap over Carrick's on the intermediate tyres. I think Big C and I think it was Simo continued for another lap on the ultra soft tyres, and I don't know why they did that, because they were both first in their team, so they didn't really need to stay out because they weren't going to queue or anything. But Big C ended up binning it because the dry tyres in these conditions obviously going to be pretty difficult to drive in. But DRS is now disabled and our gap is about 3 seconds, so yeah, just got to be consistent. Missing the apex there, and that was not taken well, but I knew Carrick's, it's actually a 4-second gap, but I knew Carrick's is really quick in all conditions, so he's definitely going to be a threat. He came out of nowhere really. I think he was down in P7 or something like that before the pit stops, and you can see moving on to lap 9, now onto lap 10, he's caught us up, and he caught us up at about half a second a lap, and sometimes more than that. And yeah, you can see it's getting to the stage where you would change on to extreme wet tyres, but we're not going to be doing that, because yeah, you go onto extremes and then you have to pit again back onto inters when it dries out, because you're making a mistake there through Eau Rouge, almost binning it, which yeah, that was very risky there. But Carrick's has gone past, and to be honest I didn't really mind that he went past, because I knew this is the stage where you would pit for extremes, and I kind of wanted to see if he was going to pit and try and dummy him into the pits, because I obviously wasn't going to be pitting, but I was hoping he would, and we'll have to wait and see whether he does. But to be honest, when I was behind I felt like I had a similar pace to him, but the rate at which he caught up me, which was yeah, very surprising. He had much more pace than Alessi in 3rd as well, and yeah, that's a bit worrying really for the remaining races, because his pace was pretty insane. He seems to be, he didn't have the best qualifying today, but he's definitely, this is his 3rd race, and he's definitely taken the championship by storm really in the way he's come in and just suddenly being competitive. He won his first race, which yeah, it's really insane, but you can see we're sticking to him right now, so it's not too bad. He's definitely finding it easier to stick with him if we're behind him. That's what I found. I prefer like being behind cars than having them catching me, if that makes sense. But you can see Jeff's come over the radio to say change the strategy to go on to extreme wets, but we're not going to be doing that, and we just have to manage the tyres. Carrick gets a massive slap of oversteer there through Blanchimont, but breaking the 100-metre board, going to see if he goes into the pits, and he actually does, which yeah, I don't know why he did that. And then I watched the stream after the race and saw that he actually went on to dry tyres later on, when it was pretty much extreme wet conditions, which yeah, I don't know what he was thinking, but he's definitely proved himself so far. but he hasn't proved himself in terms of strategy with that call, which was a bit stupid from him really, but that's definitely helped us because we now have around a 4-second gap to Aresi and then a further gap back to Simo. You can see keeping the current strategy. I'm going to be checking the weather as well, but we're in a really good position right now to try and take the win today, which a second win of the season would be absolutely amazing for my rookie season, and hopefully in the remaining races of the season we can get consistent podiums and maybe a couple more wins if possible. That would be amazing. But just managing the tyres right now as it's going towards extreme wet conditions. Simo in third place has now caught up to Aresi, and he was, to me it seemed like he was pushing the tyres a bit too hard because he was catching Aresi at a very fast rate. You see Ali K has rejoined into the session because the game for some reason kicked him out, so that's great work there from Codemasters. Big C's now left the session. He was watching it after his crash, but yeah, the state of the game right now is not that great, and to be honest I don't think there's going to be an AOR Season 15 on this game because of the state of the multiplayer, and I don't think Codemasters are going to update it anymore. I think they've kind of given up with the way the game is, but you can see the gap is 5.3 seconds. Starting to push a bit more because I knew Simo was really quick, but we'll have to see how his tyres are towards the end of the race, because obviously when they go past about 80% they have a chance of puncturing, which yeah, obviously you don't want that. So just going to see how it goes. Got 8 laps remaining of this race, driving really well, good pace, and yeah, with a race like this I was determined to make sure I got the 25 points, and I think Ali K was down in 10th or somewhere like that, so we're definitely going to close up on his lead, but I can't see myself being in the fight for the championship this year, but it's definitely going to close up the fight between him and Synthetic. Simo's now up into second, so he'll be in the fight as well, and then I won't be too far off the top 3, but this is going to move us up into P4 if we can hold on to this win. But the times are starting to get quicker because it's starting to dry out, and you can see my tyres are almost on 60%, so really looking after them right now. But Simo at that stage was 5 seconds behind, and you'll see heading onto the final lap now that he's only about 2 seconds behind us. He was pushing so hard, well it's actually 3.4 seconds behind us, but he was pushing really hard. He wanted to win, but I was determined to hold on to it in this lap and make sure I didn't get punctures, so I was going to try and be quick but try and save the tyres as best as I can, especially that rear left tyre, 77%. Got to make sure we look after that because once it goes past 80 it can burst at any time, so yeah, just got to be ultra careful. It'd be absolute disaster if we are to lose this win from a tyre puncture. But yeah, you can see Simo's caught up half a second there in the first sector. I felt like I had the pace in the second sector, but the cars behind always seem to catch up on the first sector and the third sector, so first and third sectors are more to do with straight line speed, so I definitely had a setup more to do with the downforce, but it's worked for me and it's definitely going to pay off if we can win this race. Simo's still catching us, but it would only be if he was to get within around a second I'd really start pushing. You can see 79% now, but if we don't make any sort of mistakes we're going to take this win. And yeah, just see how cautiously I'm going through here, being as smooth as possible on the throttle, short shifting quite a bit in some of the corners just to minimise the wheel spin. Simo's still catching us right now, but I think it was at this stage he got a puncture. You can see the gap's now gone up to 3.4 again, and he actually got a rear left puncture I think it was, and you can see him on the mini-map. He's losing loads of time to us now, and we are now going to take a clear victory, which is absolutely amazing. I couldn't really describe my feelings at this stage. I was super happy. I never thought I'd be able to take one win in this season, let alone 2. So we're going to head towards the line, weaving like we did at China. Across the line we go to take the win for the second time this season, our second win in AOR F1 in my rookie season. That promotes us up to 4th in the championship, and you can see Simo's gone off the track with this puncher. Resi might get second here, and Simo has just binned it into the wall. Yeah, he got a bit too keen there on the throttle. Synthetic's now going to get third. so that means the gap between first and second in the championship is going to close right up, and Simo loses a podium and crosses the line in P4, but it is a victory for us, and that is just brilliant. You look at my intermediate tyres, they're basically slick from that, but yeah, what a race. Basically executed everything as I wanted to, managed to make a good move on the RSC late on the brakes at turn number 5, and yeah, from then on it was just about controlling the gap and managing the strategy well, managing the tyres, and we have managed to do it, take our second win. And we got the fastest lap as well, and I think we led every lap except one, so another win for us. Hopefully we can get a third sometime later on in the season. Hopefully we can fight for the championship if I can start being consistent, but with the state of multiplayer, anything can happen. You can lose your front wing due to lag or something like that. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you for Italy highlights in a week's time. So thank you very much, and goodbye.